Now, Nigerian stocks continue a rally witnessed for the last 17 successive days, an achievement last accomplished in 2001. The market crossed the 37,000 point level on Thursday to close 1.37% stronger at 37,245 points. Now, the level was last seen in November 2014. On Wednesday, stocks surged 3.4% to hit that 32-month high. The rise has been attributed to positive results from several mid-sized firms that have announced half-year earnings. It's also being seen as a sign that Nigeria's economy is on the road to recovery. Governor Godwin Emefiele said recently that Nigeria is likely to emerge from a recession this year. Well, CGTN's Deji Badmus now joins us in Lagos to discuss this further. Deji, as always, welcome to the show. Now, what are the real facts behind these figures that we're seeing? Is this domestic players returning to the market or portfolio rotation by investors? And most importantly, is this rally sustainable?
Well, first, let me just put it this way, Uche. The facts behind the figure boils down to just one thing. It clearly shows that confidence is now returning to the economy, and that is reflecting in the stock market, which is what we're seeing now. Of course, there's no question at all that, we're beginning, domestic investors are returning, and also so-called portfolio investors are returning as well. If you looked at the report released by the Nigerian Stock Exchange in June this year, it clearly indicated that retail investors are coming back and that they're actually coming back in droves. And as a matter of fact, that we're beginning to see retail investors outperform institutional investors. It's a long time that happened, but then you cannot discountenance what is happening with portfolio investors. Now we're beginning to see them come. Most of them took a flight as a result of the instability we had, Nigeria actually had in its foreign exchange policy. Now we're beginning to have some semblance of stability in the foreign exchange market, especially that autonomous foreign exchange window now created by the central bank for portfolio investors. That is beginning to attract these investors. They are not coming back to the market. One other reason I would say we're seeing this this performance is the fact that, well, some of the Q2 results of some of, some companies are actually coming out, and the results have been impressive. We're seeing some of them actually declare interim dividends. And when you have that kind of situation, Uche, you would see people want to invest, because it's usually the best time to actually invest in the stock market. So I think all of that is what we're seeing play out. Don't also forget that we're beginning to see a gradual implementation of the budget. Liquidity is improving. So all of that is helping to drive this bullish performance now in the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
Now, Deji, despite all that positive news, in the past, when we've seen rallies like this, there have been suspicions of price manipulation in the market. Now, looking at the trends as well as the best and worst performers on the market, what are your thoughts on those suspicions?
Well, of course, in the past we had those suspicions, but things are different now. Difficult to manipulate figures now. I mean, the management of the Nigerian Stock Exchange has actually put in place quite a lot of innovations now that would make it difficult. There's now transparency in the system. For instance, imagine what SEC had to introduce some time ago. I'm talking about the e-dividend payment now. For instance, investors don't really have to bother themselves about their dividend. I mean, their dividend will get to them electronically. So that is actually encouraging people to invest. I think this is actually different. Going forward, I think we would see this market continue to do well if, of course, as the central bank governor actually said when they had the Monetary Policy Committee meeting, where he expressed that cautious optimism that things are looking up, but that we also have to be careful. And also very important, Uche, is that if we have if the price of oil continues in this trajectory, today Brent crude traded for around $50. Now, if if prices now, the price of oil now in the global international oil market remains the same or continues to go up, there's no question at all that we would see things continue to improve, and we wouldn't see any kind of bearish return in the stock market, so to speak, because that foreign exchange aspect of the economy is very important. If we go back to that situation where we had that difficulty with our foreign exchange, where it was difficult for the government to access forex and difficult for traders to also access forex, then that would spell a very bad, it will spell something very bad now for the stock market. But for now, things are looking good, and I think they will continue that way. Of course, when we have profit takings, you would expect that performance in the market will come down, but of course after that they will pick up.
Now, Deji, there certainly seems to be quite a lot of ifs right now, and we know investors are betting on an economic recovery, as you mentioned, and an end to those FX shortages. But are you confident that Nigeria is headed towards that, looking at the fundamentals right now?
Well, let me put it this way. I'm cautiously optimistic and confident that Nigeria is that things are actually looking up for Nigeria. First, Uche, it is true this economy is diversified, but it's also true that the bulk of our forex actually comes from oil. So we also have to pray that there is peace in the Niger Delta, that the boys remain calm. We do not have militancy return to that region, and that we're able to sustain our oil production level at, say, between 1.7 to 1.8 million barrels per day. Then that will make things better for us. It's a good thing that the government is now determined to expand the tax base of this country. The government, of course, the tax amnesty it introduced some time ago, hoping to raise around, well, is it $1 billion now from the tax amnesty initiative. That, of course, would also help. But of course, there are challenges with the budget, not looking good in terms of implementation because the revenues are not coming in as we expect. But it's a good thing that the price of oil is it's going up at least gradually. It gives us the price at the moment gives us some headroom. So you look at all these fundamentals, Uche. You look at the diversification program of the government. You look at its policy on agriculture and all of that, and that the harvest season will soon be here. Well, we can just say that things are pretty looking up for the country, and we can confidently say, well, the country will come out of the recession, but anything could just go wrong. The price of oil could tumble down tomorrow. We just cannot tell. But cautiously, I'm confident that things are looking up for this country.
There you have it, cautiously confident. Many thanks, Deji, for those insights. Deji Badmus joining us there in Lagos.